That's been a while. I don't know what the wind noise is like in this truck, but it is what it is, so you just have to put up with it. Can't do much about it. So I see Farage was answering reporters back saying, so if you want to send them all back, these are refugees, where do you intend to send them? Because obviously their places are not safe. And he said, I'm bored of this. He said they get sent back to their country of origin. Now here's a thought. Because obviously if it was safe enough for the women and the children who they left there, then surely it's got to be safe enough for them. And we all know it's a load of bullshit anyway, so fuck them. And to be honest, I would send them back to wherever it was, regardless of what happened to them, because I don't give a fuck and it's not my problem. But it comes to something when you end up getting refugees, or shall I say asylum seekers or whatever, that have come into the country, they've gained asylum, they've done it all legally, right? Or people that have come from a far off country where they've wanted to come in, they've done it all through the books, right? They've done it legally, they've gone through the system, and now they're out protesting about these illegal migrants, saying how dangerous they are. Just imagine that. What are you going to call them then? Far right? Oh, what? White Nazis? Anti-fascist or fascist wankers? I mean, you can't. These are people that have had their boots on the ground in these countries and know just exactly what these people are. Literally, these are like fucking hen's teeth, and you need to embrace these people who have come over here from these countries, done it all legally, and are warning us of exactly what these people intend to do. Now, I was watching a film last night. It wasn't a film, it's called Mayday. Some of you may have seen it, and they go through different plane accidents, different this, that, and the other. And what it was a terrorist thing, Air France, back in I think the end of the 80s, and basically they wanted to take the plane over and they wanted to eventually crash it into the Eiffel Tower. This was well, what's that, in the 90s? It might have been in the 90s, I digress. Yeah, it would have been in the 90s because of the vehicles that were in it. Anyway, the plan was the country that they were in, which was there were still French people speaking there, and I can't remember the name of it, but it will come to me. They wanted, by force, to make everybody capitulate to Islam. And this is, don't forget, we had the Crusades, right? And we fought them, okay? But as Islam's never moved forward in life, never changed, can't be changed, because that's against the teachings, then it's still set back in that time and still has the same ambition, which is to take over, which is being facilitated by globalists, NGOs, and that kind of stuff. However, during this hostage situation, they executed a few people. They made some of the women convert. They made all the women cover their hair, and just the sight of these women being westernized drove them senseless. But they made it quite clear that what that terrorist organization, or what Islam generally wants to do, is take over and by force make people their slaves. And that is the plan. But what I don't fucking understand is how utterly bonkers the mental health is. I mean, take for instance, you see anybody with pink, green or blue hair, stay away. Especially red. Now the thing is, in nature, if an animal's dangerous, usually it'll be bright red or some colour like that. And luckily, in the same way now, that these nut jobs that have, I feel safer around a refugee or an immigrant than a fascist, just shows how undeniably mental that these fuckwits are. Because I'll be honest, if you were around a fascist, and I mean a true fascist, you'd still probably be less likely to get, I don't know, beheaded, gang raped, knifed, just anywhere over the body. Usually the favourite is the neck. Robbed, punched, kicked, spat upon, mugged, yeah, all of these things. Because generally the fascists had some sort of code. I mean, I'm not saying they were great, of course they weren't, right? But what they're trying to say now is anybody who doesn't go along with them is fascist. But the fun part is this: so many people are coming around in their droves that these people are now aware that they are in the minority and they are not safe, right? They're not safe from immigrants, but they knew that, although they deny that. and they're not safe from the average human being who will actually come up to them now and say, shut the fuck up, you utter fucking weapons grade moron. You are endangering yourself, us, our future, and all the rest of it. So, I mean, I've been stood back thinking, what exactly do you say? And every now and again, you think, well, that's a good idea. Well, that's a good idea. But work's taken up time. And I do think that, how do I put this? Sometimes I feel like just by saying stuff and going over what we know, that I'm just going to sound like what is it they said, a clanging chime or a banging drum, you know, monotonous. But some people want to hear it, I guess. I just can't get over at the moment how public awareness has changed. Somebody sent me a video the other day of some new to the reservation setting himself on fire. I assume it was in a public space. Somebody tried to tackle him, and the person that tried to tackle him also caught fire. And then halfway through this, setting himself on fire, decided it was a bad idea. How could you have not thought that setting yourself on fire would be A, a bad idea, and B, fucking painful? But these people they're used by Islam. I mean, Islam works out that it'll take the feckless idiots, because this is another thing I watched on this thing. They were saying to the people who were scared of dying, how could you be scared of dying? You too will become martyrs. No, they won't. They're not even fucking within Islam, so how the fuck are they going to become martyrs? What, how could you? Yeah. And incidentally, I'm sure that Islam, some of it teaches you that to harm another human being is a bad thing. But then obviously that's superseded by cut the head off the infidel, kill the infidel, stab the infidel. It's quite fucked up, really, isn't it? Anyway, I'm rambling a bit now myself. But I'm glad to see that public opinion's changing, and people like me and people like you and people very similar to us are now not being called names for saying what's common fact. And it's nice to see people like Farage, although I'm not his best fan, coming out and just saying it as it was. And there was another guy, and I can't remember his name, I think it's Lee something, who said, well, I've got a minute left. He said my father, or my grandfather, he said, went off to fight a war and kept his women and children safe at home. He said these wankers, not those words, are running away from the war and leaving their women and children in the war, if there is a war. Because let's be fair, most of the places they come to are not as dangerous as, say, for instance, London, Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds, Coventry. You get the idea. So the bullshit is obviously falling apart, but the job has been done for now. And the only thing that's going to work going forward is obviously, and I hate to say this, people taking back power, and there will have to be a dictator. That's the only way I can see it now. I have people come up to me now and say, I understand some of what Hitler did. And I'm like, okay. Well, I'm going to say this. While I'm no great fan of people creating huge wars, while I'm not a great fan of the alleged gas chambers, well, it's not alleged, is it? Right? While I don't think the persecution of one race is a very great idea, what I do understand is that the banking system was fucked, the political system was fucked, the corruption was fucked, and there was no way that any political organisation was going to get anywhere. So the only way that you could actually do anything was to take back power by force. So that's what he did. Obviously, where he went after that is another thing. And also, the way it's been portrayed in history is something quite different. But then it would be, wouldn't it? So, yeah, while I'm not condoning what he did, I am understanding of reasons why that sort of organisation comes out of what seems to be nowhere. because people have been treated so bad in their own country. People aren't getting fed, people aren't getting housed, other people are getting preferential treatment, and you will get to a point where you'll say, fuck it. And I also believe that the system itself has tried to breed hatred between all colours, all genders, and anything else that they fucking made up that people have latched onto. Because, let's be honest, the entire time that a community is working well and working together, you can't put upon it whatever shit it is you want to do. So, you turn the community or the population to fight with each other for whatever reason that you've made up within academia, the way you've made it up in, say, for instance, history lessons, news, programs that have racial slants on them, memes, all sorts of stuff. And you turn every cunt on each other. And then when you've got them all going at each other, you can go about your dark and evil business, and you won't have anybody to resist you because they're all busy fighting for their own lives. So it's very clever. But you had to make sure that first you flood that entire area with Saharan, or different types who have a different way of living, who have no time for us, who don't actually like our culture or our history, and they want to take over. Because that will keep them busy trying to fuck us over while we're busy trying to defend ourselves. And at which point, whatever plan they have will be put into order. What do we do with this? Well, we're fucked. So the only thing that will actually come from this is, unfortunately, what's always happened in history. And I can't say it on here, but you can work it out for yourself. And that isn't too far off. I'm wondering when they're going to release the next wave of bullshit as well, because we're heading in towards winter now, so surely we need some sort of pandemic that will make sure that people can't go out, the old have to sit and starve on their own and freeze to death in their house because they can't put the heating on, and the only people that will be protected are the people that have come into this country to fuck us hard and dry. And they'll be in 4-star or 5-star hotels, or they'll be in all this modern day housing, because they're moving them to every area within the UK. I've noticed that even in little villages, they are there. So even the countryside's got a part with that fucking imported fuckwit. But there it is. I hope you're all doing well. I have, over the last few weeks, been monitoring the drinking. I've been dieting now for, fuck knows, for a little while now. And if you remember, back a few years back, I got up to 18 stone. Well, I am below 15 stone now. So, about 14 and 3/4, I think, at the moment. So we're not doing too bad. And that is normally one meal a day, sometimes two. Yeah, if I've been active, I might have a bit more. But this job is a lot more active. I'm probably doing half the amount of drive time now and a lot more time outside the cab, which is part of the reason why you're not getting much content. But I kind of figured a fit and healthy Rev was better than some blob here waiting to have a heart attack, doing lots of content. The other thing is, I also thought that most people have probably worked it out for themselves now, so I don't really need to do too many videos. And a good example as well of unhealthy living doing this job, there was a group that used to come up from Devon, and they'd stay out in their trucks and subcontract doing the tipper work, and they were late 50s, fat, they looked inbred, right? You know, they've probably had every injection going. They used to look down at us because we didn't have all the bells and whistles on our truck, and we didn't polish our wheels and shit like that. Anyway, one of them had a fucking heart attack the other day, came straight across the central reservation, and luckily didn't hit anyone. I don't know how he is. I haven't heard that he's died, so I'm assuming he's still alive. But yet again, one of those fit cunts that just took the fucking jab and didn't look after himself. I was thinking to myself the other day, I don't usually eat processed food, but the moment I do, my guts stop and I have problems. And the moment I go back on the vegetables, steamed veg, that kind of stuff, and I'm eating butcher's type of stuff, everything worked fine. And another example is I've got a neighbour whose daughter is taken up with this useless, fat, 18-year-old man boy, right? It's 6'2", 20 odd stone, right? It's fucking huge. He's thick as fuck. He has to live with his grandparents because he's got ADHD and beats the house up where his mother is, but his mum's spat out so many kids and they're all thick as fuck, right? And they're all on benefits, and she's probably mugging the system for about $5,000 a month in benefits. It pisses me off, right? They won't allow him to cook, and they only feed him microwave meals. And he is literally a product of modern day society where, bless him, don't discipline him, feed him shit and let him get away with it. Give him a fucking month living in my house and I'd fucking knock some sense into the little cunt. Well, he's not literally, but much bigger than me. And I'd starve the cunt into fucking getting fit. Apparently he just eats and eats and eats and eats. And when you say, what do you do for a job? I'm on PIP. That's it. That's his career. And it's almost as if the family makes sure that they feed themselves processed shite and keep themselves unhealthy, lest they lose their career if they got fit. And their career is being fat, riding around in fucking motorised buggies, working out the next benefit that they can fucking scam off the system. And frankly, there's a load of us workers now that are getting fucking piss bored and knowing that these work-shy, brain-dead, feckless cunts are earning more money a month for sitting on their ass, breeding, and just fucking eating, smoking, drinking, or whatever else, right? While we got to fucking struggle our bollocks off just to make ends meet. And yet again, that is all part of the system to make us turn on each other. But it's only human nature to do so. Because don't forget, it was Freud and people like that that worked out how to use psychology against us. It wasn't for us. They worked out how to twist our minds into believing that smoking was good for you and that smoking was a fashionable thing. They worked out how to divide man and woman, how to tell her she had to go to work so they could do lots of tax. They worked out how they were going to push upon us processed food and fast food. These are the same people that thought they were going to make money with cooking oil, or sunflower, or whatever it was, to fatten up cattle until it killed them. Then they worked out it'd be better off giving it to the human population. They're evil. They're fucking evil. But the same people that used psychology against us to turn us all fat, obese, and semi-contented, selfish, narcissistic fuckwits are the same people now that are working out how our demise is to come about under the hand of another culture. Amazing, really, isn't it? And all we think about is we've got to focus about how we're going to pay the bills at the end of the week, and have we got enough fucking money in the bank to pay for heating and food. It came to me today, actually, that anybody who has some money, has a weapon, can barter, can haggle, doesn't have to give his labour and his time just to get something. But if you keep people in perpetual debt, right, then they've got two choices. They can either become useless and get on the system, or they have to struggle and work their nuts off just to get by. And all the time that they have no money, so all they can give is their time, their labour, their effort, and part of their life away. They have no time to fight you back. It's very clever. It's fucking evil. And when you think about it, I don't think I'm a socialist here, but when there's one family that have over 500 trillion to their name, and they've done it by hook, crook, theft, corruption, other sorts of evil, right? But then most families now won't have a legacy or any money to pass on to their kids, because they made sure that the system was such a way that they would be able to leech money off you. So families can't lay out the house to the kids because inheritance tax has gone through the roof and you just won't be able to accept it. Families won't have any money in the bank to give to their kids in savings because they won't have any. And these idiots, they're not idiots, these arseholes have engineered such a thing to make sure that the only people that come out on top is their little group, and the rest of us can fucking struggle. But there it is. Anyway, I'm where I've got to be now, and that was 20 minutes of rant. I'll see you in a bit.